If y'all can stand with me, we're going to say the prayer and pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for this gorgeous day, for the beautiful weather you've given us, for the rain. We needed it real bad. We pray your protection upon our servicemen and women, first responders, and all those that give their lives every day for us and the freedoms that we have. Thank you for this country, Lord, and we pray bless this meeting. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We'll announce we do have a quorum. We have all the commissioners here. It's good to be back. Audio and video recorders are in use, and if anybody wants to speak tonight, please fill out the member form sign-up sheet to address the board. Appreciate that. Employee recognition, Mr. Krigler?
Yes, so tonight we wanted to recognize Jeff Johnson, 20 years of service. He wasn't able to make it tonight, so Clinton and I will get together, give him his plaque tomorrow or as soon as we can. But he is an inspector for us, inspects all our, of course, our CIP projects as well as our developer projects when someone connects to our system. So I want to thank him for that service.
That's awesome. We got a lot of folks working here for long periods of
That's
time.
right.
That's a great thing to see. It really is. All right. Approval of minutes and transcripts. Will, do you have something to say?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as you know, we had earlier a special session which we considered matters under litigation involving the RIB project and the clearing of that right-of-way. I'll remind the board that that project is an open meetings sunshine action because that is a Santa Rosa County project, and we are committed to operate in the sunshine on that. Under the normal circumstances, the minutes which were taken of that special session would be held until the end of the litigation. That litigation has not ended, and I would recommend that you amend your policy. Your current policy is that your special session minutes would be published to your website. Even the redacted would be done so, and I think it's within 48 hours, 24 or 48 hours. I would recommend that you consider amending that to hold the minutes of the special session discussion of the Eglin RIB project until the end of the litigation.
Okay.
And you can effect that by simply making such a motion to amend if that's something you're interested in doing.
All the board members understand?
Trying to think of how to make that motion.
I know. Okay.
What he said.
Yeah. What legal said?
I make a motion that that any published minutes from executive sessions redact that portion that pertains to the Eglin project until the end of the Eglin project, or until the end of the Eglin project.
Until that litigation concludes.
Until that litigation is complete.
That would satisfy it.
Second.
So just to be clear, we've made a motion to amend the executive session discussions on the Eglin project, the legal discussions, until after.
Mr. Chairman, my understanding of the motion was that you're amending your policy to redact the section of the special session concerning the Eglin RIB project, and that your minutes would be published, but they would just be a redacted version with regards to the RIB project. The other portion of your discussion, your minutes would not be redacted. And then when the litigation concluded, then you would publish updated minutes that were unredacted.
That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what you said. All right, so I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
we still need to approve the regular meeting minutes and transcripts, right?
Correct.
Yes. And you
I think
still
we
need to
approve
approve
all.
all of your minutes. Right.
Yep. So in the packet, you have the approval for minutes and transcripts for the May 21st, 2024 regular meeting minutes and transcripts. We have the May 21st, 2024 closed executive meeting, redacted and unredacted, and we have May 30th, 2024 BAWM Fruce member acknowledgement letter, board action without meeting.
I make a motion we approve all as presented.
Okay.
Second
Thank you, Mr.
that.
Lynch. Thank you, Donna. We have a motion and a second. Everyone in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Approval of memberships. In May, we had 276 new members. Canceled members were 250. Transfers were 0. Can I have a motion to approve the members?
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Unfinished business. Oh, that's a big one. Holly Navarre Water System Insurance Renewal Package Policies from Underwood Anderson.
Yeah, I'll kick that off.
Okay.
Say a few words. So tonight, we're going to be considering policy renewals for both Holly Navarre and the Club at Hidden Creek. I want to introduce Alex Niedermeyer with Underwood Anderson. He's essentially our main contact on these policies. And he'll be walking us through the renewals for both entities. And he's going to mention this too. There's an issue with the carriers recently where we don't get these renewal quotes until really close to the deadline. And that's the reason we don't have some of these numbers. It's not because I'm not calling him to get it, and it's not because he's not working on it. It's just kind of the way the industry's working right now. He'll speak more to that. On Holly Navarre, we have a lot of policies that expired July 1. One thing that happened recently is Grundy, who holds the package policy that includes property, has told us they're not going to renew the wind policy. They're looking for quotes. We don't have a wind quote as of right now. We will have that obviously before July 1st. So what we're going to look for tonight on Holly Navarre, and Alex will be presenting this, is we're going to be asking the board to approve a not to exceed amount based on his understanding of the estimates and where we think we're at, where it's going to come in. And we think that will get us real close. In the event it's more, we would come back and notify the board and do what's needed at that point, whether that's a board action with a meeting or whatever. But we think approving that amount tonight will help move us along. Alex will talk us through that. On the club, we received all the quotes we needed late Thursday. So we put the package together typically Thursday night, Friday morning. There was no time to really brief the management board. Management board meets that prior week. But we do have those numbers. Alice is going to walk us through that. There is some options on those policies relative to the general liability, and he'll cover that. But we should be able to get those approved tonight and we have the hard numbers for that. So kind of with that introduction, I'll turn it over to Alex, let him walk us through, and we'll do the Holly Navarre first.
Okay. You guys prefer me here, podium? Anybody preference?
You're fine.
Good?
Yeah, I think so.
So most people own a home. Insurance is still insane. In two ways, both rate increases. Although on the commercial side, we are seeing that flatten a little bit. I say that knocking on all the wood in the room, but it is starting to flatten a little bit. Grundy is probably a little bit behind on how they've been doing their rate increases, about a year, based on kind of where everybody else has been. And this is what's going on in the insurance industry right now is, well, in any industry really, just not enough talent, not enough employees, and the amount of work that's going into doing all of this. These insurance carriers, they're all hedge funds, okay? They're all double and triple underwriting and just putting loads of extra time into reviewing and moving things around. So it's just taking a lot of extra work. And we're seeing, it's probably since fall of last year, where we're getting renewals, not just for water systems, but pretty much any property, depending on what the situation is, sometimes 2 days prior. We write a lot of condos too, big associations, the exact same thing is happening. We're getting it a day before, sometimes we're getting it a week after it expires, if you can believe that. And then it works itself out, they use the original effective date. Fortunately, that's not the case here, but unfortunately, it is a situation where normally we get these about June 20th historically, from Grundy specifically for Highland Bar. We get it sometime around June 20th, okay, right now. It may show up tomorrow, it may show up Friday, but we pretty much, just about every other day, pretty much mash and hammer them to say, where are we, what's going on? And it really got late starting in the fall with our water systems that we renewed. So, with that being said, what they do is, because it's admitted paper, Florida law says within 45 days of a renewal, you have to at least let your policyholder know what your worst case intentions are, okay? And they have to issue a notice. So if you've got you guys have a premium comparison there, that's all we're putting in front of you tonight, just to show you the differences. The part that makes everybody's jaw drop, and this, Grundy has done this on others, is they've said, we're not giving you in, okay? It's mostly on 98, okay? The stuff that we insure on 98, that's what has happened. So we say, okay, what's that gonna do to the premium? In a lot of cases, the one that we renewed just a couple of months ago, they basically renewed it at the exact same premium as it was the year prior, just with no wind, okay? Our feel is that's probably what's going to happen, okay? Is that it's going to renew at, they're going to offer it at what the premium was on this current term, but no wind, okay? So let that soak in for a minute, because
Real quick question,
somewhat
is wind
unprecedented.
synonymous with hurricane?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just want to clarify that, that's what
Absolutely.
we're talking, okay.
Yep. Tornado, any wind activity, right? A lot of times they try to group hail in there with that, but if it's wind at all, heavy gusts, whatever it is, wind.
Got it.
Named storm, all of it. Okay? Now, for those of us in the insurance business, that is not a shocker, all right? We've been used to this. These carriers have been not offering wind. Last year was probably the worst year. Again, I'm saying that Grundy has started doing it really in the fall. You guys got, I'm saying you got lucky last year because they did offer the wind on it. They did go up, but they did offer the wind. Nobody wants wind in Florida right now. They don't care where you are, what you're doing. We don't want anything to do with it. Get out of there. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a wind-only option, and that's what we're waiting on now. We hopefully have about 3 options there. One of them, we're hoping that Frontline, which is also on the club, okay, great carrier, and rates for Frontline on 98 are as good as anybody can do in most situations. So we're hoping that they offer up a quote, and then of course you've got ICAT, and you've got maybe one other one that will do it. Citizens is they don't want anything to do with water systems, so it's not really an option for Citizens. So the idea, okay, is, and this is based on what we have seen, is they'll offer the renewal. It will not be the $254,500 that you see. We think it's going to be closer to what you guys are insured at premium-wise now, at that $203. But again, with no wind, okay, I get it. It's crazy. So adding the additional wind premium to that, I can imagine, this is me guesstimating, let's say 40 grand, 50 grand in premium would roughly get you guys to that 254 number, okay? These are all hypotheticals. I just want to make sure I'm being abundantly clear. These are hypotheticals. But this is just how our other systems have worked out that we have renewed thus far, okay? So that is the thought process. The The good news is that work comp premiums are down, okay, hooray. Even though claims seem to be at an all-time high, I don't really understand that. But we're not gonna knock it, we're gonna take and run with it. But that's the big and the small of Holly Navarre and at least premium ranges that we're talking about. We went over some property values, a lot of that got scrubbed last year, big time. A lot of that went through. So there really weren't a whole lot of changes, I don't think, Jeff. A little driver change here and there, and a vehicle check, okay. Equipment stuff all seemed to be pretty in line. And Grundy has all that, and as soon as they release it, then we let these guys know, and then you guys can go from there. But it is a bit of a mystery as to exactly what the premiums are gonna be with the wind. Again, hypothetically, I think it's gonna be close to what you guys are paying currently for the insurance with the wind, but we'll just have to see. Questions so far?
Could we, if Frontline is willing to do the wind, wouldn't we want to get a quote for them to do all of it instead of having wind separate with another carrier? And, I mean, you know, how long does it take to get a quote from Frontline or some other entity?
And I'm glad you said it in that manner. We've talked about Grundy, and we continue to talk about how great the Grundy program is. And with the other systems that we've presented to, and this exact same thing has happened, you've got Glatfelter, you have auto owners, there's really only 2 or 3 other water system type programs, right? Every time we reach out to them, Glatfelter wants nothing to do with property in Florida, period, at all, okay? So, okay, they'll give you the little bells and whistles that a water system program will give you, but they just never touch. They are totally out of the ballpark in Florida right now, especially given where you guys are. Way, way up north end of the county, I think we still have some that are with Glatfelter that have just continued to be the light in the way, still offering wind, but they've been kind of grandfathered into that program. Anytime we go to them for something new, they're just totally out of the ballpark, or it's we're not interested, or we can't compete. And that's basically the idea with anything on 98 is we can't touch it. So by the time we say, all right, well, let's go to auto owners, or let's go to Glatfelter and get just the water system specific liabilities and bells and whistles, when you pull all the property and you start putting the property with a property carrier only, I mean, guys, the premium, we've got some multi-million dollars worth of property values here. The property premium alone is 150 plus, easy. So we kind of start shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit. We start moving that stuff around. So I'm saying all that to say, yes, Frontline will do a lot of property. None of these property carriers they're not going to deal with the water towers. Okay, they don't want anything to do with that. I mean, that's really a water system specific type coverage. But they will do our buildings and stuff like that. Okay, so that's what we will be doing. I'm saying wind only because nobody touches the X wind rate that Philly has. So even if we asked for it, it would probably be well over $100,000 for it to be wind, fire, everything on the buildings that we want to get quoted. So the question is how soon do we get them? Well, Frontline's in the same boat. A lot of times a Frontline renewal, although this year, if they're already on it, they've given it to us within 2 weeks of a renewal. Hadn't been too bad, and some of them it's literally the day before. Again, it's just the nature of the beast right now. But again, hopefully 3 options, wind only because Grundy's X-Wind premium is still so good. It's a really good rate. Likewise on the autos. The auto rates are really good. All those, anything other than wind, they're still just phenomenal at. They really are. So I think that answers that. Okay.
I do have one question.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that just an industry standard now for insurance? You only get a quote like a day or 2 before your policy lapses?
I hate to say it. I mean,
Here, that's still crazy. We try and have discussions up here in front of our members who expect us to be talking about this stuff, expect us to vote on this stuff at our board meetings.
Yep.
Yet we won't know what you know, it's
I
gonna
get
be 2 days before it renews at
Yeah.
the end of the month, when we won't have another meeting for another 3 weeks.
I get it. So the short answer is, it's kind of yes, that has become what has happened in the last 2 years. I mean, I'm not blaming COVID, but COVID, hurricanes, the return to the workforce hasn't been back yet, and insurance is harder than it's ever been, and people are jumping out of windows every day. I mean, I literally had a broker last week was supposed to get me a quote for a totally separate risk. Another guy emailed me the next morning and said he resigned last night at 6:30, just left his desk. So it's just a challenge right now. So the short answer is, yeah, it has kind of become the industry standard. Jeff and I and Barbara, we were talking earlier. I really believe, again, knocking on all the wood in the room, that if we can get through a season without the wind blowing really hard, much, I think that next year we're already seeing softening this year. It's just, like I said, Grundy is about a year behind where everybody else was. Starting in the fall, that's when they really started to be super late. And this is what they do, guys. This water systems are one of that is their premier program. So every other water system that they're getting for, they hear it all the time. They're like, I get it, we hear it all the time. We're getting them 3 days before, I understand that. They just don't turn it. And Tina, God love Tina, our account executive on this, who's been on this account for, Lord, at least probably 7, 8, 10 years. She checks in with them every other day. Just checking up on it, how we looking. So it's not a matter of the pressure not being applied, it's just a 1 year at a time. It's just a product of the situation that we're in, post-hurricane and post-COVID. Is that it? You had something else? Okay.
Jeff, what was our budget for insurance this year?
$295, but that includes all the policies. So there's I believe 3 policies that don't renew on this July 1 time frame. So given some of these numbers, we'll probably be about, we estimated about 20,000 over budget for the year.
Okay.
What I'm assuming on the Highland, we're talking about going up roughly $35,000.
Well, when you say high, what do you mean?
I was looking at this.
No, you need to be looking
Or
at,
are we in club?
yeah, look, so go ahead and tab.
That's the club.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. On tab, we'll go to the back of, end of tab 1,
Yeah.
where it says premium comparison. That's the Holly Navarre stuff.
Oh, okay.
That's what I saw.
Okay, so.
Yeah, and I mean, as agents, it is we would much prefer to have this stuff ready, as we normally have every year up until, well, even last year, I think we got it in a timely manner. We got it on the 20th, I think, June 20th, when I look back and look at the emails.
And we have the club stuff, it just came in late last week.
We got the club
We got
stuff,
that,
and you know,
right.
it's just, again, frontline, they were a little bit later getting it to us. It's just kind of 1 year at a time right now.
So, one other question.
Yes,
So
sir.
we're projecting that it'll be up by about $41,000, but that doesn't include wind, right?
Well, let me get back to it.
Which one are we?
They're estimating that, yeah, if you said the number
Holly?
right, where it says renewal premium, he's guesstimating that 254 will include the wind.
Okay, he is guesstimating.
That is my guess, okay? I'm only judging on the ones we have renewed with.
Right.
Okay, I'm just giving you my best guess, okay?
Okay, so I hear that, but that doesn't seem to be what the very first sheet says, the notice and change in policy terms. It says wind will be excluded and the rate will go up 35% to the 254 number.
Right, so based on what we have seen, when they send this notice, that was talking about the 45-day notice that the state requires. That means, carrier, you better tell them worst case scenario what it could be, okay? So that's the worst case scenario without wind, because you're right, it may show up without wind.
So this doesn't include wind. 290 is no wind. Correct? Or, yeah, the 295
Correct,
does not
correct.
include wind.
If the renewal comes in with no wind at
Worst case.
254. That's right. That's worst case.
I see 254.
And then we get a wind quote to go with it. Wind quote could be 40, 50 grand. It might be 30. So you're right. And then it would be on top of that.
So the
Yes.
254 number does not include wind.
That's correct.
That's what we're looking at as a worst case number right now.
That's
but
right.
it's still no wind.
Correct.
But it's the worst case number short about $40,000.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Well, it's the worst case for what we expect to get from them.
Yeah.
They're telling us wind won't be there.
That's right.
Well, what Alex is saying is that they've sent these notices out, and then when the quotes do come in, they're closer to the existing, so that's
Right.
where, and then he's adding wind into that,
That's right. That's what
The
an
we
wind
see.
estimate for wind.
But the wind will be added to, the 254 is no wind, and whatever the number that comes into, there'll be some other premium added for wind if they give us wind.
Yeah, the idea is that the 290 would include everything as a not to exceed amount. If it's over, we would come back.
Right.
And that's all we're voting on tonight is a not to exceed amount.
A not to exceed
Giving them
amount.
the
Correct.
okay to
And let these quotes
negotiate
come in, and we'll revisit if we have to.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying. My guess, and this is based on ones that we have already reviewed, is the 290 would be including some kind of a wind premium.
Did the 203 include wind? The
Yes,
expiring
it did.
premium?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See, that's where I'm getting confused here. We're
Yes.
not comparing apples to oranges.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whenever somebody up here that's only had these things since Friday is looking at it, says expiring premium, $248,958.53.
Yeah.
Renewal premium, $290,580. I'm thinking we're comparing apples here.
No,
But
excluding
we're
wind.
not.
No,
Okay.
no.
So what?
And that's probably an update.
What was the wind on the expiring policy?
It's included in that 203.
Do you know what that number was?
Oh, what the premium is?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure if we're at 290 or
Yeah.
at 350 or 400 or where we're at,
Let me see if it breaks it down.
especially if we're gonna be asked to give a
Well,
number.
we won't know.
Yeah,
Right, we won't know. That's what I'm saying. Well, all we're doing tonight is just, they want us to approve a not to exceed amount.
Well, we still
So
need
if
to
it
know.
does exceed that, we'll have to come back. We'll have to sign it anyway, but.
I understand, but we do need to understand what are we voting that number will represent? Is that number supposed to also include wind or not include wind?
This number right here, the 290, is what he's saying is that he's hoping that the separate wind comes in, and that number right there is gonna be our final number for everything.
Okay.
For everything that's due.
So
But
we
if it
number-
goes over that, obviously, we'll have to have some more discussion.
Yeah, that's right. And the part we haven't really talked about yet is the idea of, once we get them in, you get the numbers, self-insuring on the wind. We've got several other systems that have done the exact same thing.
That's like our biggest exposure though, is
This
It is.
wind.
Yeah, it is. So, sometimes math doesn't math, and depending on what the premium is for the wind, coupled with a 5% wind hail deductible, because that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be a 5% wind hail, probably at the lowest. I think it would be 5%. I fully expect that. It's 5% of the total insured value, okay? Which will end up being probably close to 3 mil, okay? So you've got 5% of that, plus whatever premium you guys pay towards that, before any check is ever cut from an insurance company, okay? So my big thing to you guys, and this has been what the narrative has been for the last year and a half, not just water systems, could be anybody, my contractor clients, anybody, is really think about when are we gonna get a check from a carrier during a loss? You've really got to have these days, guys. I mean, and that's what's been so good about the Grundy program is that they've had like $1,000 wind deductible up until last year. And then it went away and it went to a 5%. But by the time you do the math on what kind of damage you would have to clear a 5% wind hail deductible, plus the premium that you've paid for that policy, it may or may not make sense to you. So on some of the other ones that we have, they have a surplus and they've said, yeah, let's just go without it and we'll self-insure on the wind and that would be the flip side to the coin of talking about the wind policy. How much is the wind premium and what's our deductible, right? And how much do we want to gamble on that?
Well, insurance is typically a worst-case scenario situation. You're not insuring for the small losses anyway. But
That's right.
I mean, if a tornado takes out a water tower, what's that gonna cost us out of pocket? You know,
Sure.
I mean, that's what we're insuring.
100%.
against is Worst case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's worth it to spend 50,000 on wind coverage if, you know,
Yeah,
we're trying to cover all of our water towers.
yeah.
What did they rate it to, Phil?
So I'd say,
200 miles an hour.
You get that?
Rated 200?
Nope.
I asked Phil what the wind
200.
towers are rated
200
at
miles
200 miles.
Well, what you're gonna find too is that the wind only, they're not gonna cover a water tower.
Yeah,
They're only gonna cover your offices,
Yeah.
your maintenance buildings.
I can tell you already, when they issued that
Yeah.
wind-only policy, we're not seeing it cover tanks anywhere else. You're on your own.
Yeah, and that's why I say, I mean, it's, you know, as a guy that works, I'm gonna say with the carriers, and more so nowadays, more for you guys, I mean, we get paid on the amount of premium. I'm not saying I would talk anybody out of buying wind, that's not what I'm trying to do, but I do make it an absolute point to really look at the math and really make sure you guys feel good about it. What are the pieces that we're most concerned with? And in most situations, it's, well, if we lost the office or we lost the maintenance building, that'd be a big deal. You know, lift stations and stuff are pretty self-contained, knock on wood, pretty bulletproof, windproof. Not a whole lot that can really go wrong in those. So just for me, from what I'm advising my clients is just really think about how you're spending your money and how you want to spend it. Because I think we're all so used to just saying, oh, we've got wind coverage, just turn the claim and it's fine. And then you get a letter that says either reservation of rights or whatever it is, that says you don't have enough damage for us to cut you a check. So it turns into, why give our money to somebody who's not going to give it back? You know? So
Just
just
most of the time, we're looking at roofs, you know, I mean.
and that most of the time you're looking at a roof, yeah.
Yeah.
And most carriers nowadays, unless it's a brand new roof, which I think roofs here are in pretty good shape. You know, if it's older than X amount of years, let's just say 15 years has become more the average. The value of the roof goes from replacement cost to ACV, actual cash value. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I mean, these guys have got it figured out. They really do. On how not to cut a check. They really do.
Well, the last time at the
Give a
golf course,
corporation
there
a
was a
bid
bunch
2
of
days
trees,
before it's
right?
due.
Most,
Yeah, that kind
We're gonna
of
cover
got
the
it
trees.
figured out,
I know.
because we don't have any
and
choice.
stash cut the trees up.
they got it. One at a time, please.
Or even offering it, or even just from a deductible, you know, even if we do get one and you get it 30 days in advance, you know, the coverage is still what it is. It's still a 5%, you know, it's still a large premium.
So bottom line is, we don't know what the number is.
Correct.
So I would suggest we go ahead and vote on this not to exceed amount. And let's see where the numbers come, and then we'll have that separate discussion later. We could talk about wind all day.
Yeah.
Okay. One last time, I don't think I heard you whenever you answered the question as to how much the wind was last year.
I was looking it up for you. I think they break it down. They may not give us the wind only what it is, but it should break down the property premium, which includes the wind. That's probably going to be the best. When I get in the office tomorrow, though, I'll see if we can't get underwriting to give us, if it's not in here, maybe what an estimate would be on the wind.
Well, what's your estimate of how much our apples to apples comparison, how much is this policy increasing percentage-wise? Apples to apples. Because this is 16%, but that's wrong, because that doesn't include wind.
Well, my thought is, my educated guess is that 290 number, by the time the Philly renewal comes in and we get a wind-only option, we'll be at that 290 roughly. That's my guesstimate.
But if we
Does that make sense?
vote
That is-
290, 580,
I'm asking, 290, we've established, does not include wind.
No,
We know we're gonna
Daryl, it's his estimate. It does include his
It
estimate
does
for
include your
wind.
estimate for wind?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
that's all you had to do. Then it is apples
Yeah.
to apples comparison. Then. If we've got wind on
It's,
that.
again,
that is his
it's a
wind.
guesstimate. It's a guesstimate because we don't know exactly. They're telling us worst case scenario. It could be more,
Okay.
Daryl. It could be.
Okay. Here's where I'm getting confused.
Yeah.
You've said that they are not going to give us wind.
Grundy is
So,
not, no.
Grundy is not going to give us
Right,
wind.
right.
So whenever you say this is their worst case scenario,
Mhm.
they're not going to give us wind.
Correct.
So does this include wind? If they're giving us the 290 figure, we know they're not gonna give us wind,
Mhm.
but the 290 includes wind.
If you look at the notice that they sent us, Daryl,
Yeah.
it does not include wind, and it says this rate has increased by 35%
Okay.
without wind. So
Without wind.
add wind to that, and you're looking at more than that.
Yeah.
That's right. So, let me try to answer you like this.
Yeah.
I think that the wind-only premium is gonna be 40, 50. That's what I think, okay? Based on how we ride in this area. That's what I think.
All right.
So I'm not sure that we read that correctly. Okay, if you look at that first page, well, not the first page, but the premium comparison for the renewal. 254, the 36 is for workers' comp. That's not wind.
I got that.
Yep.
But if you go,
290 without wind, period.
I got-
Based on, okay.
agree.
So,
I'm reading the notice of change where they've given us the max it's gonna be because they had to legally give us that. They're quoting the 254
I think what
minus
confused
wind.
everyone was he used the 254 in two different contexts.
And two
He
different.
said, they said 290, but he's really guessing everything but the wind is gonna be the 254, which was also referenced in the other context. That's what confused.
That's
me.
not causing me
Yeah.
as much problem as the statement right before it that says, wind will be excluded. There's no if there.
It will be, yeah.
it will be.
Oh, yeah, it
It'll
will
be
be.
from a different
Grundy's
company.
not carrying.
Yeah, the wind will be from a different carrier.
Okay, so if everybody heard that, if wind is coming from a different carrier, this 254 does not include wind.
So
Wind's gonna
Don,
be for somebody
hey
else.
Don, I think there's some confusion. Where it says, increase by 35%, 254, 500, that's not in stone. That is the worst case scenario estimate.
That's
What
max.
he's been
That's
seeing
right, so
is
that's, and
the
what he
over-
is saying is that he believes that the premium is going to be roughly what it was last year, they just will not include the wind. And then he guesstimated so much for that, so he thinks the renewal premium will be 254 with the wind from a separate carrier. The workers' comp and everything total will be 290, and that's what we're voting on today, just a do not exceed amount of 290. Now, if it comes back at 50, 60, $70,000 wind, and Grundy actually does want to charge us 254, then we're gonna have to come back to the table anyway.
That's right.
Okay,
That's
then,
it, that's
then I would
it.
appreciate, so you agree with what he just said?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. Sorry.
that's good.
I'll make a motion to approve the Howling of our water system insurance package, working comps, umbrella policies for a not to exceed amount of $290,580.
I got a second, I got a motion and a second. Everybody in favor, please say aye.
Wait,
Oh,
Can we-
discussion, I'm sorry.
yeah, just real quick. I'd like you to say, and that includes wind.
Okay,
That 290
so the
number
motion,
includes wind.
right,
The
the motion,
policy as presented, right?
Yep.
Because it does say it includes wind, even though they said they didn't.
okay, so the motion is to approve the hauling of our water system package, which includes wind, workers' comp, umbrella policies for a not to exceed amount of $290,580. And I have a motion and I have a second from Ron. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Yes.
All right, Darrell's opposed. Motion passes. Number 2. Now we go to the fun one. The Club at Hidden Creek insurance renewal. All right.
I'm good.
Yep.
All right. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
The next page is the high.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. This is down.
It's back.
Okay.
And the next page is the beginning.
Okay.
And then the top one is your
Gotcha.
pointer. You
Okay.
can hold it down.
How do I go back?
Bottom.
Okay. I might get you to do it, Emma.
Just hold it. There you go.
Okay.
And then you hold it. You put a pointer.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so, and you guys all have a copy of these, right? High and low. So here, let's talk about property insurance first, okay? This is where we are currently. Actually, that expiring premium for, on the top, 40,000, it's 43. That is a typo. It's 43 now, okay? These numbers over here on the side, renewal premiums, you see wind policy, 57,128, property X wind, 29,204, okay? Those numbers indicate, and in your packets, I think they were printed in color, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
You've got the highlighted number. There were a lot of increases in property values, okay? Usually a carrier will come back and say, these look a little low, guys. Please send us some proof that where you're coming up with this number, okay? Sometimes it comes from maybe engineering. It comes from replacement cost estimators that we have, and also underwriting with insurance says, we think they should be more like X, okay? So we provide a replacement cost estimator, which is pretty much what claims adjusters utilize. They utilize Xactimate most of the time. All our softwares are pretty much on the same level. So we go back and look at it. Frontline was one specifically that said everything is undervalued, okay? So we went back to them, ran some numbers based on software, asked for increased building values, and that's what these premiums are, okay, on the right side, renewal premium. Those are with all the, and a lot of them, they were pretty big property value increases, okay? Again, I mean, I tend to try to blame COVID for this because it is some fault of theirs, but you know, the price to build something per square foot now, I mean, a metal building used to be $45 a foot, $50 a foot, now it's like $100 a foot. And we've seen that through claims specifically. So the suggestion is, let's go back, let's look at it. How does everybody feel about property values? We did replacement cost estimators. There's a lot of back and forth with Jeff and Barbara. I think engineering chimed in for a moment. That number is to increase everything to what you guys see in your packet, okay? That is the recommendation, is to increase building values. I'm going to get into the insurance weeds for a minute. There's co-insurance that can come into play, and it's a math equation. Basically, if you're not insured to within roughly 80% of what replacement valuation would be, okay, then they end up kind of docking you again. It's a penalty. That's how that works. Outside whatever the deductible may be, whether it's fire or wind. So what this is the attempt to stay out of that co-insurance penalty range, okay? Based on data, replacement cost estimators that support that for the zip code and the area. The renewals without the valuation increases were actually only up between the two of them, I want to say $1,800 a piece, which is the opposite of what we've seen for the last 2 years. It's all doubled and tripled. So that is actually an example of if we didn't touch the property values at all, the reality is that the frontline wind policy would only be at, I think 45 is what the number was, and it's at 43 currently. So that's a good example of kind of some leveling out in the market a little bit. And then the X-Wind policy came in at, I think it was 19 or 20. It was 21 is what it was.
With the old property value?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a really good example of what my comments about we're seeing it starting to flatten a little bit, even out here in Navarre and Gulf Breeze. It's true, it actually is happening, more so on the commercial side. But the valuations for the buildings were just a major concern for underwriting, okay? So that's what these premiums are, is to get them at a level that at least those that make decisions on that end were comfortable with, okay? So that's what we went with, is to recommend the higher building values. And the rate itself is really not the big increase for the year. It's just the increase in the property value, okay? Everybody with me so far? Does that make sense?
They had an adjuster come out and look at these facilities, or?
No, not the adjuster. Underwriters now, they didn't used to, they just left it to us and the insured, right, to discuss property valuations. After Sally, Frontline they didn't adhere to any co-insurance, they didn't do any of that. They fired their claims guy, head of claims, because he wasn't adhering to co-insurance, okay? Everything was, in their opinion, vastly underinsured, and after Sally, there was a lot of stuff that was underinsured, but the COVID crisis hadn't really hit yet, because it was only, what, 2019, 2020? By the time 2021 came around, building values were insane, cost to replace, it still is, it's come down a little bit, you follow me?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's happened here, is we've increased a little bit every year, but it hasn't been an underwriter enough to go, guys, I'm just telling you, you got co-insurance problems here, with them consulting with claims and whatever else. So we say, fine, do we have appraisals? No, we don't have appraisals, but we have replacement cost estimators. It's a platform, it's a database, that's what we run it through, okay?
I just can't imagine the pump house going from value of $50,000 to $250,000. It's a lot for a pump house.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I'll
the,
build it for that.
We're getting a pump with that.
that includes everything inside it.
Everything's inside.
Yeah, just remember, if it's permanently attached to the building, technically it becomes building, becomes building
That
value.
makes more sense.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So the change in the property values is only affecting the wind and the X-wind policies, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So there's no difference low or high option for those two?
Yes, sir, that's right.
I've been over this year.
Do y'all want to go, can we go to like the liability piece next?
Alex, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question? Just to
Yes,
be clear.
I recognize.
Is that,
Will Dunaway.
is that because the pump house includes the pump, because the pump is considered a fixture?
It's whatever's permanently, once it becomes bolted and permanently attached to the building, technically it becomes building value. And this is just all information too. We don't necessarily come up with on the pump houses. That was a Jeff thing, and those that know helps on those types of things. Okay. So right now, Nationwide is on the general liability and the liquor liability. Okay. Do you mind clicking to the next one or telling me how to? Just the big one. Okay. So this is with the Nationwide package the way it is now. Okay, you can see it was $19,000 was the current term. This is what their renewal offer is, $27,944. Okay. Nationwide has backed out of this state on almost every single line of business that they write, except for some of the golf programs. So this is what they offer. Okay. That package is an umbrella policy. It is the liquor liability and it's general liability. Okay. The umbrella only goes over the Nationwide stuff. Okay. I'm calling it the high option because, as you'll see on the next one, the property value premiums are the same. Okay. But the only thing that's really changing is what we're suggesting as another option on the general liability. So here you can see expiring premium 19, that's the nationwide stuff. Auto owners package renewal, okay? This is an option. Auto owners is great, they've been around a long time. Used to write lots of stuff with them on the water store before Grundy came around. This one is general liability, liquor liability, umbrella. The only difference is that this umbrella actually goes over the auto and the workers' comp, okay? Whereas the nationwide only goes over the general liability and the liquor, okay? I know that as a general rule, this board has always been pro-umbrella. I think it's usually been a legal thing. It's been the suggestion. So that's why I put this in here to say, let's offer this. We have a third option in there that we didn't really offer because they will not do an umbrella. They will not go over anything. It's called Fairway Underwriters. It's a good little program, but they can't go over autos. They won't go over anything else. It's just a standalone policy. Just twice the limit, 2 million, 3 million. So the suggestion is auto owners is going over more policies than nationwide for less money. Yeah.
What is the crime wrap policy? What is that?
It's your crime, EPLI, employment practices liability. That's what that is. Does that make sense? The traveler stuff.
What's an example of a covered event that we would?
Crime, employee theft type stuff. EPLI, wrongful hiring, firing.
You didn't want to say it.
I was expecting a comment from someone on that. Anyway.
And as you can tell, that's staying the same.
12,000 a year. Yeah.
$25,000.
And that's even something, crime.
Self-insure for that? I mean, it's.
Well, the EPLI, you know, we've had,
What's that?
the EPLI is the employment stuff. We've had several potential to make claims on that.
Right, okay.
I'd wager the driver of that is the EPLI, not just the crime part, most likely.
And what's our budget? What's the club's budget, Barbara? Miss Barbara? Jeff?
Total club.
For insurance?
130,000.
Okay, so we allocated 130.
And once again, the club also has 3 policies that don't expire at this time of year. They total about 20,000.
Okay.
And the overall total insurance that we have on all entities is, of course, in the back of the finances, if you have to refer to that.
Yeah. So it looks like we'll be about 10,000 over with everything. With the low option.
With the low option, that's correct.
So we call it the low option, but the only low part is price, cost.
Yes, sir.
Coverage is not. Coverage
That's
is
right.
not lower.
That's right.
Coverage is higher.
Price, yes. Premium,
Price.
yeah. Premium.
Yeah, I see no reason why not to go with the lowest
Right.
option.
Same here.
Do we have a motion to approve insurance policy renewals for the Club at Hidden Creek based on presentation and discussion?
I'll make that motion for the low option as discussed and presented to us.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Thank you, Mike. Any more discussion?
For discussion, can we just, rather than say low option?
Say the amount.
Can we just say to approve it up to $119,795.40?
I'll amend my motion to say that.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to approve the insurance policies in the amount of $119,795.40 for the Club at Hidden Creek based on presentation and discussion, and we have a second.
So discussion is, well, not, it needs to be not to exceed, these are
No, we have
actual quotes.
We have
correct?
These are actual
Yes,
quotes,
just
Yeah,
not
this is it.
estimates.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Alex.
Feel free to take off.
I just want to make a statement. This is 1 year at a time, guys. Okay, 1 year at a time. It's a,
Oh, this wasn't a multi-year agreement?
well, I just mean as far as the state of the insurance,
I know.
businesses.
The state of the whole economy right now.
Yeah, the whole
is
thing.
shambles.
Very frustrating.
All right, item number 3 under unfinished business, vehicle replacement policy and award of bid. Vehicle replacements, trucks, Jeff Krigler, it was a total of 6 trucks? Or 8?
Eight trucks.
8 trucks.
Yes, so we advertised this solicitation several weeks ago, opened it on the 11th. We did receive just one bid from an entity called Legacy Brothers out of Georgia. We were expecting local dealerships to bid on this. We did not get any bids from any local dealerships. We did attempt to, or we have done some due diligence on Legacy Brothers. They claim to be a licensed dealer. They're saying they can provide untitled brand new trucks within 45 days. Quotes within our budget. So we feel like we can get the new trucks within 45 days. This is something we should probably look at. But I do want to state that we did reach out to some of the dealerships, talk to me, why did you guys not submit bids? We were expecting interest here. And I think the issue had to do with the number of vehicles. They felt that for them it would be almost like a factory order, and the timeline on that would be 6 months or more, almost up to a year. So they couldn't provide all 8. They didn't reach out beforehand and ask those questions. We could have talked with them about that, but they didn't do that. But that's what we're hearing, is that the fact that it was 8 trucks, they had to consider it as essentially a factory order.
Do we need all 8 trucks right now?
We would like 8 trucks. I mean, we've been working to get these trucks for a while. We'd like to get them.
I mean, most of the time we do 2 or 3, 4 trucks at a time instead of 8, and that kept us from getting a competitive bid. I'm a little concerned that we're approving a single bidder on vehicles.
So we have this
Yeah, we are.
The trucks, we've been trying to get trucks for several years now. We didn't get them at all last year because, time frame and all. But looking at the guy's bid and looking at what I see on Commercial Truck Trader and all, the guy's numbers are pretty close to what you would find if you went individually bought these from a dealership. My opinion, I think, we should buy all 8 trucks.
What-
And get this over. We got trucks in our fleet right now that are, 12 years old, 15 years old.
Why are 2 of the trucks diesels? Those are like 14,000 more than the
Because
gas
we need those
trucks.
trucks to pull our mini excavators and skid steers and things like that, but
That was gonna be my question, is,
they have a higher towing capacity than the
Yeah.
gas 250s do. And then if you get pulled over by DOT, if your truck don't rate what you're pulling, you get a ticket. So
And we need 2 of those?
We do, yes, sir.
but my question was gonna be, have we looked to see the price of these things sitting on the lots, and you've seen it's pretty close?
We have, yes, we've done quite a bit of research. We've
Yeah.
been looking at this for a while.
Yeah,
And of course, everybody gives you a little different price. but
sure.
It's in the ballpark, so
And this is with the modifications?
that's correct.
Yeah.
Just like we want. So, whenever they show up here, they'll be ready to drive, put on the road.
And all the vehicles meet this draft policy requirements? They're all more than 7 years or 150,000 miles?
Yes.
And how did we come up with that? I noticed there's nothing in here about beyond economical repair, if we got a lemon that we need to get rid of in your policy. Is that something maybe you want to add, but how did you come up with the 7 years? Is that something the dealer gets?
Well, and I think it was originally 5 and 100, and I think things are just lasting longer now. So I think it was just kind of a logical extension 10 years is probably too long. But a lot of individuals keep their cars way more than 100,000 miles now.
Yeah, I think
so
the
it's just a
average did
natural
go up.
extension.
quite a bit.
But you did say, all of these are beyond this policy if this policy is approved.
I would have to double check, I'm quite certain most every vehicle that we're getting rid of is at least 10 years old. So I would have to, I am not gonna say 100%, but I believe it is, yes.
The only other question I have is about policy, and it says that your replacements will be sold to a member of Holly Navarre Water System at a bid price, so that's where we list it and do the auction here, but it's only to members of Holly Navarre Water System. You have to be a member of our.
Initially,
Yeah,
right?
and that's-
Initially.
I was gonna bring that up if you didn't, because our policy is that it initially offered to Holly Navarre Water System members, but if none of them meet the minimum bid, then it's open to the general public.
Yeah, we can
So
add that.
that's
That probably needs to be
historically
added.
the way
Can we add that? Yeah.
Yeah, there we
So
go.
this policy, I think, was dug up from the archives. and-
Yeah, we didn't modify the, how to get rid of the asset. We did modify the criteria to purchase, but
That's correct, and then Darrell is right, in the past, we have offered it to the members of Holly Navarre Water System, and the trucks didn't sell to the members, and so it just wasn't sit here. We opened it up to the general public and let them have a shot at it.
The only other question I have is obviously about budget, and I saw somewhere this is a CIP item, the money's sitting there allocated to this.
correct, and we
This
have,
calendar year?
yes, and I think we have 540,000, Clinton, 546?
Yeah, 546, 552, I can't
Yeah.
remember off the top of my head.
So this is within budget.
The question I have on the policy, vehicles will be sold but not less than the listed price in Kelly Blue Book. You know, there's not an exact listed price in Kelly Blue Book.
Yeah,
It's-
And I
it
think we
lists-
used, I think
It's
we
a
used
low
the tra-
range, I
I think it was
think.
trade-in value is what we used. It was the Kelly Blue Book trade-in value.
Trade-in. The low end though,
That's-
because they give a range typically.
They do
I mean, these are,
good,
these
high
are commercial
quality.
vehicles, they aren't, you know, daily drivers for people, they get a lot more wear and tear, I think, than a daily driver does, and, you know, when you do put something in the Kelly Blue Book, it's, you know, you have to
They
put the
got a lot
mileage,
better,
the
they got a
condition.
lot better maintenance plan.
Well,
down here,
they probably do, but not
Yeah.
everybody realizes that, and
Yeah.
they look at them as a commercial
Yeah,
vehicle, not a.
but it was always Kelly Blue Book trading value, and if there's a low or a high, I'd suggest putting it in the middle, you know, taking the average.
Well, I mean, I think the policy, if we're gonna put that in the policy, we
Yeah,
need
you should put it in.
we need to specify what value we're gonna try to get, you know, for it, because,
Average trading value.
you know.
As far as the policy, I'd recommend just delete the last paragraph. Unless we want to start adding that to all the policies, what's it matter how many directors vote for it or against it? It's just, it's either passes or it doesn't.
I think historically.
I thought that's standard language,
No, I didn't.
but it does, I'm not married to it.
So do we have a motion to update the policy to specify the Kelly Blue Book number that we're looking at?
Well, that and the,
Add the language about selling to the general
the
public.
language about if it, member doesn't buy it for the minimum price, then it'll be offered to the
Okay.
public.
How about we just get them to rewrite it? and-
Thank you, that's what I was
Yeah,
gonna
let's-
ask.
Let's see where we write them, that'd be better.
Yeah. Then we can vote up or down.
Yeah.
Anybody have any more discussion on the vehicles and Legacy Brothers? Sorry.
I do have one question, this might be a Will question, or somebody knows our purchasing policy question, but are we gonna have to, doesn't our purchasing policy say that we have to have X number of bids whenever a contract is this high? I think don't we have to have 2 bids
I think so.
at some point? I mean, especially for $500,000, you'd think we need to have at least 2 bids.
It's certainly recommended, I
Because
don't, I mean, there's-
I thought that once it exceeded $25,000, we had to have.
I think, I don't.
And if we're gonna do that,
I think
yeah,
that's what it
yeah,
says.
if we could look at our purchasing policy on that, because if so, I think we probably need to vote to waive that restriction tonight before we vote to buy these trucks. And I don't remember what it was off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the
I
exact
tend to
language.
agree that there is something.
Hey Clint, did you talk to Legacy Brothers?
Saying you should have X
I
number.
did.
Jeff did.
Don and I talked to them.
Do they, now, because I was looking at their referrals and obviously we looked at the website and it looked like they just built trailers.
That's what's on their
I mean,
website.
that's all it is.
Exactly what we
That's
thought.
all the referrals were trailers too.
So when we first got that, we were like, who is Legacy Brothers? So we went to the website, we're like, trailers. And we was leery of this bid. And then, I had to go out and do something, I can't remember what, but Donna and Jeff emailed them, set up a phone call, spoke with them, and, Jeff can elaborate further.
Yeah, he claims he does this, it's almost like a middleman.
Yeah.
He claims he's a licensed dealer, doesn't have a lot per se. That's what he indicated.
But,
Could I ask a question? Is
when
he
you
a
look at
licensed
it,
dealer or not?
If
He
you
claims
can't
he's a
produce
licensed
trucks in
dealer.
45 days, we're not gonna pay him a penny.
Before
Those
using the word
trucks are
claim.
sitting here and we inspect
To
them.
me,
and
it
say,
makes it
okay,
sound
they're
like
good.
we haven't really checked.
So, any of the dealerships we talked to, and I spoke to World Ford and another dealership in Foley about why we couldn't get a bid for trucks. And it was a time frame that they said, it could be a year or longer before we could get those work style trucks. If the guy can't produce in 45 days,
Yeah.
we've only lost 45 days, is all we've done.
So was that just at the volume of 8? Or if somebody went on the lot and had 2 here and then you go to another dealer and find the 2 you want and,
So, we reached out to Step One and Crestview, who, they're nationwide.
Yeah.
And when you look on Truck Trader, you see Step One with these different vehicles that are what we would like to have on a lot, somewhere in the United States.
right,
But they didn't want to get them. The people that aren't like Step One said, well, they're more of a commercial style truck. And it's almost like Ford only ramps up that product at a certain time of the year and they produce a bunch of them. And apparently they didn't feel like they could get a commercial style truck for us. And not in that,
So I guess the number one question is, how many bids do we need to even have this discussion? Or should we?
I think there is, and Darrell is correct. I believe
I think
that
we do, yeah.
at a certain threshold, there is, you gotta have 1 or 2
Yeah.
bids, but if you put forth good faith effort to get it done and nobody bids on it, I was thinking there was some type of clause in there about that.
Yeah.
Well, I just asked
I
him
usually
to
have it
go
on my
get a
phone
copy.
and I don't
I
have
think
this
we can
one on
waive
my
it.
phone.
I think we can waive it. So the question is do we waive it or not?
Yeah, I just
If it's in
asked
there, we
Emerald
need
to go
waive
get us-
it. If it's not in there, we don't.
So Will, what were you saying?
I just asked Emerald to go get us a copy so we can look and see and be correct on it. I don't have it in front of me.
I mean, I was totally shocked that a dealership in this area, or even in Tampa, didn't send us a bid on something. They just did. You think a guy sitting in a computer, you look all over the United States, I get this truck, this truck, this truck, and this truck, and this is.
Just have them shipped in.
Right, have them
Yeah.
shipped in, and then they be sitting here.
Ford, it's a Ford thing. Should've hit Dodge or Chevy, you know?
so what did we use?
Everywhere.
This obviously isn't the first time the water system is, so how do we get them before? Did we just buy them onesies and twosies?
We have done all kind of things. I don't know that we've ever bought 8 at one time, but I think we bought 5 or 6 at one time for sure. And we have done it multiple ways. We have been to Gary Smith Ford down there and talked to the Greek and bought trucks from Gary Smith Ford. And we have bought regular vehicles and had them sent to like Fleetco in Pensacola and had the beds ripped off and then buy a truck bed like we need for the utility style and set on there and then send them back to us. And we, I think the last 2 trucks we bought, actually, Darrell, I believe, was, we found them sitting on the lot in Mobile, just with utility beds, everything on, and we just went over and bought that truck.
Nice.
So Jeff, back at you, you mentioned when you talked to dealers, because it was 8, they were hesitant. Did you get the impression if you went and say, look, I'd like 2 of this, that you might get a response and a bid from them? Or was it like, yeah?
I didn't ask that direct question, but they did make it sound like the 8 was the issue.
I think, was it the 8 or was it the timeline?
Oh, well, the timeline, to
Yeah.
deliver it
And-
in
well, that's what I was
2024.
So they would
That's
have-
what I was gonna
Right.
say. We can vote on this whenever, the 8 trucks, and I'm good with that. But from this point forward, I think staff needs to, if you know you're going to buy trucks next year, within 12 months, you need to start today, going out there and getting bids. Because we don't need to get to next year and say, well, this is the only guy that can get them in 45 days, and we need them in 45 days. We know now it's gonna take a year, we need to start acting accordingly.
Mr. Chairman, the Holly Noir Water System Purchasing and Procurement Policy Resolution 2024-01 states under the, it's not numbered, but in the non-recurring purchases that exceed 50,000, it states that multiple bids shall be solicited. A minimum of 3 bids are required. The Board of Directors may waive the 3 bid requirement on a case-by-case basis. So, to Darrell's point, that would be the correct procedure, and were you would need a motion to waive the 3 bid requirement on this case in order to proceed.
I make a motion that we waive the 3 bid requirement on this purchase.
I'll second it.
My discussion is, in the purchasing policy, it lists some exceptions, and it's not an emergency, it's not a sole source procurement, it's not water meters, it's not professional services, this is a truck, and I think we need to get the bids. I want y'all to get your trucks, I want you to get them in a timely manner, but I can't purchase 8 trucks without multiple bids. Even if we have to get them 2 here,
Well, yeah, but
this
if
may
they,
be the best
Our
deal.
policy don't set up that way, Mark.
Yeah.
You can't just go get 2 off the lot because we didn't bid those trucks.
if you think about it,
And I
Mike,
pulled up this website, and all they show is trailers on their website, they don't show vehicles.
We agree with that. We're very leery of this, but if the guy can't produce it, all we've lost is 45 days. Because we're not gonna pay him a penny until the trucks are sitting there in our yard and we can drive them.
it does seem like a lot, but it averages $63,000 per truck.
I know.
Which is,
I
in
know.
today's economy, it's like,
I
yeah,
know. It's just a Ford thing for me.
I hear you.
Would you rather have a Kia truck?
A Honda.
A Honda?
Tesla truck.
Yeah, no. I will be a hard.
We have some
no on that.
Datsuns for sale back here. All right, we have a motion, we have a second, to waive the bid requirement on this particular bid. Any more discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed?
No.
Mark opposed it. Do I have a motion to award the competitive bid to Legacy Brothers in the amount of $504,412.80?
So moved.
Can you,
Don?
under the guise that no checks get paid until the truck is on site?
That's how it's
accepted. All trucks, thank you, Rob, all trucks.
All trucks.
Would you amend that to?
Yes, we're meant to say that.
Okay,
Second.
and we have a second. Mike? So the motion is to award the competitive bid to Legacy Brothers in the amount of $504,412.80 to be paid once the vehicles are in our possession and have been inspected. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Don't be marked, thank you. Motion passes, 6-1. All right, number 4, we have the award of bid, the Regional Reuse Initiative, Phase 1B. Jeff, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so this is project we're real excited to award, and this is one where we do know the contractor. So this is really this phase of the project is essentially the pipeline from our wastewater treatment plant all the way to Eglin property. It also includes the new pump station at the wastewater treatment plant. So we advertised this, of course, back in May, opened the bids on the 15th, actually, or no, on the 13th. We did receive 3 bids. It ranged from the 17 to the 25 million. Low bidder was L&K Construction. So now that we have this kind of hard number on this large piece of the puzzle here, we can really do a detailed analysis of our current funding situation relative to the money we borrowed. That affects cash flow, the remaining projects we haven't yet completed. So there's kind of a lot to digest there. So what I'm recommending is that we do essentially a capital funding workshop. This would be an open type meeting, obviously, where we can really look at our cash flow and the remaining projects, how that relates to what we borrowed, so we can answer the question of, have we borrowed enough money? Can we complete all the projects that are part of that package? So that analysis needs to happen. I think that's a fairly detailed analysis. We'd like to present, several kind of spreadsheets on that and go over that in a detailed setting. So that's something I'd like to do in the near future. But in the meantime, we do want to award this bid. As you know, Phase 1A is pretty much nearing completion. And L&K is the current contractor on Phase 1A. They were the low bidder on this, Phase 1B. So I think their experience here, they wanted to continue. And we had a good experience with them on 1A, so we're happy with this outcome. They were a good part of the team, and they were easy to work with. Let's see, so that kind of covers it.
What's the timeline if we award this bid to signing a contract with them and then actually starting the work?
So I'd say we're probably 60 days from actually any real work happening, ballpark. I believe we gave them 365 days to do the work. Is that correct, Phil?
Yeah, I think so.
So, but if we sign the contract in a month, that'll put us into fall, late summer 2025 for them to finish.
I'm happy with L&K, the work they've done out on the ribs. I mean, they've been right on track with doing it all. I think it's a great bid. I'd feel a whole lot better about it if we had our easements that we need wrapped up and, all completely done.
Yeah.
We have one.
A naive question here, explain a deductive alternative.
Yeah, so the pump station that's part of this work could either be constructed as part of Phase 2 or Phase 1. So we had it as an alternate, depending on how the pricing came out. So the total on the job was 17.3 million. Roughly 7 million, that's the pump station at the plant. So that would mean the pipeline's around 10.1 ballpark, just on the breakdown. And both the pipeline and the pump station have it's a cost share with the county, obviously. I believe it's 55-45. Yeah.
So this is if they don't.
Big money.
If they don't do the pump house, it was 7.2.
No, the 17,342 includes the
Is
pump
everything.
station.
Everything.
If you don't do the pump house, it's 10 million, but you still got to do the pump house in Phase 2.
So the
It's gotta
pump
be
house
done.
was 7.2.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
correct.
Included,
All right.
okay.
And what was the other deductive? The 363?
It was just mobilization related
okay.
to the pump station itself.
And Jacobson, you guys are happy with the review of?
Yeah, the math works. All the paperwork's correct.
Okay, do we have a motion to award the bid to L&K Construction Incorporated in the amount of $17,342?
$342,000.
$342,000, thank you.
Also move for discussion.
Second discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I have one question for staff. Based on the, I guess, resume or history that LNK has submitted with this bid, this project is about a little, more than twice as big as the biggest project they've ever done before. Are y'all comfortable with their ability to complete this project in a timely manner?
Yeah, we are, and not to go down a rabbit hole, Darrell, but a significant chunk of this project is subcontracted out. They're not doing it. If you look at the part they're actually constructing, it's right in their wheelhouse.
Okay.
A big chunk of this project is those directional drills, which are being done by a third party, so.
Okay.
And that third party, they have multiple options listed, and all of those third parties they have listed as their possible sub are qualified to do the work too as well.
Is that the installation under East Bay? Is that what I'm looking at?
Correct.
The
Well, not only that,
3 million portion.
Joe, but around the entire kind of horn curve of 87 is directionally drilled too.
Got it. Yeah, okay, I see that, yeah.
Yeah, but the water crossing obviously is the most critical, so.
And their subs have done that kind of work before, going under bodies of water.
All three of the subs that they list as their potential subcontractor partner are capable of doing that work.
Okay. What was I know it doesn't really matter in today's numbers, but what was our original estimate of phase 1B?
Mark, I don't think we had a single estimate of phase 1B. We were carrying about $11 million for hauling of our share of phase 1 in the budgeting process. So, the phase 1A was 4.8 million. Of that 4.8 million, I think the county's going to probably be responsible for 800,000-ish of that. So Hauling Bar's got 4 million of that. Of this 17,342, Hauling Navarre ultimately will be responsible for 56% of that. So it's about $9 million. So if you take the $9 million and you add it to the $4 million, you're about 13 on what originally was being carried at 11.
Yeah.
So.
Do we need Santa Rosa County's approval of this bid, since they are a stakeholder or not?
We technically do not. However, and again, not to go down a rabbit hole, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole anyway. So I'm going to go back to Jeff's conversation that he started. We have an agreement with Santa Rosa County. That agreement does not require them to approve the award of the bids. However, there's no way we're going to do this without them acknowledging that we've opened these bids. In this case, the deductive alternate for the pump station. The pump station originally was envisioned in phase 2, which was the Santa Rosa County construction from their plant to our plant. Early on, we felt like there would be some benefit to moving that pump station from phase 2 to phase 1. And whether or not it's in phase 1 or phase 2 does not make a difference in terms of ultimately who pays for what in this project. There were several reasons we thought it might be beneficial in terms of sending the water to different places and construction pricing and what we needed to do at the plant and what we were going to be doing at the plant anyway. So we put the design in phase 1. But we warned the county that, hey, look, Hauling Navarre has borrowed a certain amount of money. We have a certain amount of money in the bank. The county isn't obligated to pay Hauling Navarre back except under 2 conditions. 1, 10 years passes from the date of the original agreement. Or B, the date that they connect to the plant and expect to send us flow. So, right now the county is full speed ahead on their phase 2. They're kind of ahead of where they originally thought they were going to be. They intend to bid phase 2 in the fall, so it looks like probably with their construction schedule, their date of connection would be the end of 2026. But we warned the county because we were concerned about cash flow, that if the bids came in too high for phase 1B, we were gonna deduct the pump station and they would have to bid it as part of their phase two. And of course, Jacobs is the engineer for both parties, so they had made provisions to do what they have to do if that was the case. Anyway, to get to your point, as soon as we open bids, we let the county know what the bids were, and we actually asked them for a special condition. Because we volunteered to move the pump station to phase one, we asked the county if they would be willing to reimburse hauling of R or pay for the construction as it occurs for the lift station outside the original agreement. And they actually agreed to do that. They have provided that assurance in writing to Jeff. So yes, they have acknowledged the construction cost. And yes, they've even gone further and acknowledged because we moved something that we would not have had to pay for 10 years or until such time they connected. They have agreed, they have the money to do their project and all of this. And so for that portion of the $7 million pump station, which is about $3 million, they're actually going to pay for that construction as it occurs. We're not going to have to wait for them down the road. So any cash flow issue that we might have, and right now we don't think we have a cash flow issue of any type, but they have agreed to do that for us. So to answer your question, yes, they've acknowledged it, and yes, they've agreed to pay that. So I think that's about as good an acknowledgement as you can get. So.
And now that you said all that, Jeff, did you have a firm date you were looking at that cash? Because I'm concerned exactly of this cash flow, that there's a lot of money going spent that we need to spend. So did you have an idea of when you were going to look to have that? Or be ready
It
to
probably should
present?
happen sooner than later, before the July board meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Went down the rabbit hole anyway, didn't it?
That's good. Stay out of those rabbit holes.
But
It was
more
good, Phil.
information we have. Thanks, Phil.
All right, we have a motion and a second to award the bid to L&K Construction Incorporated in the amount of $17,342,000. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right. PCC Sewer Rehab Contract Task Order Number 17, Mr. Krigler.
Yes, so this is a task order on the recently awarded sewer rehab project that we awarded to PCC back at the April board meeting. At that time, we agreed to bring back any task orders that were going to be over $25,000. This particular task order totals around $61,585. And it includes a group of 10 manhole repairs, mostly in the Hidden Bay subdivision. It also includes some valve box repairs at Lift Station 4.
Mike and I looked at each other. Where's Hidden Bay?
Yeah.
It's down 399.
399, yeah.
The townhouses.
Oh, yeah.
Got it. Oh,
Thank you, you're a funny guy.
yeah.
All right, any questions? Looks like this work needs to be done.
Yeah, the majority of these are ones that are at risk of inflow or infiltration into the manhole.
Yeah.
Mark Turner does a great job of identifying where the needs are, so he's put this list together.
This isn't stuff we can do in-house either.
Mr. Darrell, I can hear you.
Oh, sorry, is this anything we can do in-house? Any of these?
Tara, we look, if we have, the manpower and the time to do it, we will try to do what we can in-house, but, we also do have an I&I contract and some money budgeted for that, so that helps us out. So what we can do in-house, we will, but if we feel like these right here, just send them a lot, let them do it.
You've looked at all the numbers, obviously, and they look good to you as far as the price.
It's part of the annual contract.
he
So
bid the pricing.
He's agreeing to do it for what he signed a contract for.
And these are the same numbers he had 3 years ago when we
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
All right, do we have a motion to approve task order number 17 in the amount of $61,585.58 to TCC?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. New business, Mr. Krigler.
Yes, I'll provide an update on one bid that we did not bring forward tonight. So early in the year, the board had a discussion on soliciting for a rate study. We did do that, put a package together, advertise that, open those proposals also on June 11th. We received 4 proposals, but the range of bids was very high. It ranged from a low of around 19 to over $100,000 for this rate study. So, we had a good bit of questions. We really want to do more analysis of those proposals. And the other thing that we put in that document was that we may ask those 1 or 2 of the proposers to come and make a presentation for the board before we select them. So we would want to do that at the July meeting. So we didn't want to rush it and put it on the agenda without doing a little more due diligence with these firms. So that one is, you don't see that one, but it will hopefully come before you in July. Once again, that's to do a rate study and look at our impact fees as well.
All right, number 2 on the item, new business items is award of bid emergency repair on influent force main at Pepper Drive. Mr. Krigler.
Yes, so y'all have been informed of the force main failure we had at our wastewater treatment plant on June 1st, the day when we received almost 10 inches of rain here in Navarre. Once again, the staff did a great job fixing that on that Saturday. They were there all day into the night. We certainly appreciate that. They repaired essentially a 15-foot section of pipeline there. Go to the exhibit for me.
Exhibit A.
But, and I'll show on the exhibit here.
You see the pictures?
No? Is it not in there?
You see the pictures already?
I haven't seen him
It's not in
You
there.
must have been on vacation.
I'll talk from this exhibit here. So essentially, we had a 15-foot section repair that was made on really that south entrance road into the plant. This was a ductile iron pipe that had corroded and failed. There's still roughly 250 feet of pipe existing that goes to the head of the plant. We feel that's still at risk of failing, given what we saw on June 1st when we had the pipe break. So what we've come up with is an emergency bypass that we'd like to have constructed as soon as possible. This would be an above ground piping so that it could be constructed real quickly. And it will also be useful when we actually do the replacement. In the future, we would use this bypass because we got to shut the pipe. It's the only pipeline from the west side of our system, from the Coral Street lift station. It all comes in that way. So we did get 3 bids for this. One bidder said they were too busy and couldn't provide us a price. We got another bid for around $60,000 and a low bid of $30,000 from PCC to construct this temporary bypass. And this will really buy us some time to do a real engineering project for the pipe replacement. We want to replace the 250 foot that comes into the plant. Of course, that takes engineering plans, bids through a formal solicitation process, construction process. So we want to address that in the 2025 budget process. But doing this emergency bypass, that buys us the time to where if this thing fails, we're ready. We wouldn't have a spill. We've got this thing breaks. We've got the valves now. When we do this, we'll be able to valve it off, turn the bypass on, and we'll be good. So we think this is a smart thing to do right now. And we're recommending approval, awarding this to PCC for the $31,000 tonight. And I don't know when he can get started on this, Clinton, but I think real soon, right?
Yeah.
I think he's ready to get going.
Real quick, probably need to get action pretty soon
Right.
before he starts up
Right. But I believe he said he had, the pipe was available and he,
He had everything, I think
Yeah.
he said he had everything in the yard.
right.
Sending pictures, yeah.
Send that picture.
It'll be the
So
same
this
size
bypass-
bypass? Sorry, sorry, Don.
So the bypass all that corroded pipe that we want to, regardless of where the break is?
Yeah, so we fixed where the break was. And downstream of the break, there's 250 more feet of the same material piping of that same age.
Right.
So it's reasonable to think we could have a failure of that.
And this bypass is gonna go where though? I mean, before any of
Above
that?
ground, before all that, it's essentially bypasses above ground, so just kind of temporary. And if we have that, any type of breakage or failure, we'll just turn those valves and we'll have that bypass available.
Makes sense to me.
All right, do I have a motion to award the bid to Pensacola Concrete Company in the amount of $31,189.16?
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in
Hey, should we
favor?
mention what we're buying?
Sorry, Darrell.
Shouldn't the motion say award the contract? As
Yeah,
opposed to
no, it
just-
says-
Our
says the
motion
bid.
just says that we're gonna pay them $31,000.
Yeah, it says bid. I was
One
reading. So the motion is to award the contract to Pensacola Concrete Company in the amount of $31,189.16. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Director's update, Finance Committee update, Mr. Lowe.
I actually covered for Rob during
Okay.
this one, so we are on track at 32-ish%. Looking really, really good. Expenses for water and wastewater are down. So a little pat on the head to Mr. Clinton and his crew
Nice.
until next month when they're up. But we're on track. We're on track, looking good, so thank you for what you do, Miss Barbara and your crew.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Capital improvements, Mr. Lyncher.
Moving right along, with the capital improvements for the year, and the projects we've got going on, everything's still within budget. Still have a lot of work to do before the year's over with that, so we'll see where we end up at.
Budget O&M, Mr. Campbell?
I
You
covered,
just covered it.
check.
Santa Rosa Regional Reuse Project, that's me. I think we pretty much covered everything. We just awarded the bid for the contract for 1B. The same company that did 1A is working on 1A, and the project's almost done. So it's coming along. The Club at Hidden Creek Management Board, Mr. Linnell.
Yeah, the club had a decent month in May. Slightly behind projected budget for the year, but good weather. It goes up and down with the weather, so good weather. It's really close. Good chance we could be back on budget or a little above come the end of June.
Fairpoint Regional Utility System Representative, Mr. Krigler.
Nothing too much new or exciting happening at Fairpoint. We did send a letter to the city of Milton about their spray field, but other than that, it's kind of business as usual up there.
And Municipal Engineering Services, Mr. Phillips. No rabbit holes.
I don't think I have anything to report, but we will get to have fun with insurance again next month.
Can't wait.
We
Cannot
will
wait.
yell at Alex to have those quotes ready.
Review of all April 2024 financials, Mr.
So the total revenue for April was $1,716,352. Total expenses were $973,145, with a net income of $743,207. Biggest item was we did receive $274,218 from the grant. Hit on the budget percentages, so pretty good month.
All the board members had a chance to look through the financials, I'm sure.
Yep.
Anyone have any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the April 2024 financial statements?
So move.
All right, Mr. Milano.
Second.
Second.
Joe, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Mr. Phillips, engineering, do you have anything?
Yeah, the I sneaky high again, reflecting the rainfall we had last month. We'll be watching to see how quickly it returns to normal, just as a reflection of the repair work we've done. The information you have on water loss in your package is not complete. Clinton and Donna are having problems getting out of Edmonds what we could get out of the old software with regard to some of the reported flows. There actually is a new estimated sheet by Donna that came out this afternoon that shows they had a bunch of leaks this past month, which made it really hard, but I think the true water loss showed like 6.5% after the leaks were estimated. So it's not as bad as the 17.5% that it looks like, so that's it.
I kept creeping up, and I said, we got a leak somewhere. Well, we found a leak on a 6-inch line in the bottom of the ditch right next to the sound. So all that water was
Couldn't see it.
going right to the beach.
Mm-mm-mm.
But we found
We improved water quality and sound though.
All right, next thing we have is member forum. I have 2 people on the list here. Mr. Thiel?
I'll just put mine in so bad in my mind. I don't have anything
Okay.
else at a level that you guys have all talked about tonight. You went long enough.
All right. And we have Pat Smith. Would you like to talk?
Sure.
If you'd mind come to the microphone up here for us?
I do have some things. So I'm Pat Smith, and we bought a house here in Novar 37 years ago.
Name and address.
When they decided to become public sewage.
Ms. Smith, just a
You
second.
can't hear me?
No, we can, if you speak right in the mic, but you said your name was Pat Smith, and what's your address?
I'm at 9013 East River Drive. Actually, it's not my address, but it's my home. So when they became public sewage, we weren't here to get in on the good things, I guess. In 2022, we decided to make it public. And we had to submit where you want the, I'm lousy at this, where the access
The lift
points.
station? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At first it was flush on 1.25 acres land. And I spoke to an engineer before and they said it could be over there next to one of my neighbors. No problem. They gave us something, a design, we annotated where. Somewhere along the line, someone came in and put a bubble above ground close to the driveway. Problem with that is, it's a long road. People tend to turn when they realize that's not where the direction they want to be in. So they go on hours because it's paved. More than once. That thing above ground is broken. Okay? Now, we didn't just let them do it. We had asked, please move it before the plumbers did the lines. Okay? I guess maybe they didn't like me requesting a change or whatever it is. Since then, I've been having a problem. So they broke it. We put an order in for something to be replaced and nothing. Recently, the person that lives there has kids. And so I guess they needed to pay the bill, but they're working in Niceville and we're all over the place. They cut off the water. No problem. We paid it. I say we because sometimes I just help with it. It's in my name. the lady showed me a diagram, a display. She says, if the guy doesn't make it by 4, go ahead and lift it up and go in there, do it. I've never done anything like that before in my life. And my husband died last month, so I'm doing everything. Okay, that's okay. I'm doing it all. I looked. It was leaves and nothing to be done. So the next morning I called. I spoke to someone again in the office, and they said, oh, no problem. Now this was earlier in the day. Nothing again. So this time, they got kids, little kids. I think it was a weekend or something close to. So they had to get emergency come out to do whatever needs to be done. And so I went back and I said, hey, there's something in their computer, and you can't miss it when someone is talking to you and they're reading the screen. And so now I'm experiencing what I call passive aggressive. And I believe it all came from just requesting for that thing to be moved to another area. And the reason I'm here is 37 years ago, this place, of course, it's grown a lot, but it had a more professional and people-friendly or family type atmosphere. I don't know what's happening now. And so I'm bringing it to your attention because that's a lot of money in 2022 to just convert and have everybody come out and tell you about $20,000, some plumbing people telling you $25,000 plus $5,000 access. You know, it's kind of not feasible all the time. So I'm here because, one, I don't know what they have in the computer, but I want them to take it out so that they can be more professional and not speak to a person while looking at the computer and changing their niceness. That's one.
Ms. Smith, have you had any discussion, Jeff, have you heard about this issue yet?
First time hearing of it.
Okay, well, why don't we do this, if you're in agreement? We can have this discussion either in person over the phone or via email, and
That's fine.
Jeff can jump right
I'm
on that. We can
curious
find out what's going on.
Well, someone will come look at it.
That's
Not
fine,
me.
it's just that
We'll make sure we take
the only
care of it.
reason I came here also is because in just trying to get one moved to the other, I went through, I thought, all the office.
Gotcha.
You know, and so that's why I decided
Sure.
to come here.
It can be frustrating.
It's like going through a chain of command. Where's next? I don't know yet.
Okay,
Okay, but I would love to speak with you.
we'll make sure.
Yeah. Make sure
Thank
we
you,
have
Ms.
your,
Smith.
make sure we have your info. You got the address and
Yeah, we got that.
phone number? Good phone number.
Yeah,
Get a number.
yeah, I don't have a phone number.
Yep.
Okay, that's the end. If anybody, there's nobody else here to speak. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
I have one motion. Do I have a second?
Second.